Welcome to Celebrity Life Archive. Today, we dive into the world of power and wealth as we spotlight the 10 richest politicians in the Philippines. Leaders whose influence extends far beyond governance and into billion-peso business empires. From real estate magnates and shipping tycoons to boxing champions turned lawmakers, these figures have built fortunes that shape policies and industries alike. Join us as we uncover their rise to prominence, the assets that define their wealth, and the intricate balance between business and politics. We'll explore their success stories, the decisions that skyrocketed their net worth, and the lasting impact they leave on the country. Get ready to discover the intersection of power and prosperity. At number 10, Rosana Sani Vergara, 327.4 million Cuban pesos. Born into Nueva Ecicia's landed gentry, Vergara supervises 200 hectares of irrigated rice paddies and a modern milling plant processing 5,000 tons of palay each month. She added a fertilizer distribution network and a 20-truck logistics fleet, assets she often showcases when rolling out her annual Rice Youth for Tomorrow seedling giveaway, planting hope in smallholder farms. As Congresswoman, she authored agricultural credit reforms and farm mechanization subsidies that critics say mirror her corporate beneficiaries. In 2023, she quietly funded a 5 million Cuban pesos farm-to-market road project in her home district, a move hailed by constituents but flagged by watchdogs for potential conflict of interest. 9. Lucy Torres Gomez, 335.3 million Cuban pesos. From blockbuster actress to Leyte's cultural ambassador, Torres Gomez co-owns LGS Films and Lotus Records, plus the urban farm Pods vertical farms she built with husband Richard Gomez. Her eco-resort in Taguig, Hacienda Verde, hosts weekend film workshops she underwrites, nurturing forgotten talents. She authored creative industry tax incentives and eco-tourism regulations that bolster her ventures, drawing both praise for sustainability and scrutiny for self-dealing. Local school teachers tell of her surprise campus visits in jeans and sandals, distributing free art supplies to aspiring filmmakers. 8. Juan Pablo Rimpi Bondoc, 426.6 million Cuban pesos. Heir to Pampanga's sugar dynasty, Bondoc oversees 1,500 hectares of cane fields and mills turning out 150,000 tons annually. In a masterstroke of diversification, he launched Megapack Paper Corporation, 350 million Cuban pesos plant, and 12 fuel stations along the NLEX, each mapped in an interactive infographic that tracks his real estate footprint. As 4th District Republic, he chairs the Agribusiness Committee yet abstained on a sugar tariff vote critics say would have slashed his margins. He also runs a scholarship fund for sugar cooperative children, a gesture locals call sweet justice. 7. Yeta Marie Romualdez, 487.6 million Cuban pesos. With 15 hectares of beachfront resorts in Leyte and 2 Tacloban event halls, Romualdez draws in 120 million Cuban pesos annually. She holds 40% of Leyte Water, a PPP-backed utility she helped legislate, from drought relief to pipeline expansions. Her Women in Action microloan program has empowered 2,000 female entrepreneurs, but opponents argue her bills on disaster-resilient infrastructure serve her resort's beachfront expansion. She once hosted a 2 million Cuban pesos charity gala for typhoon victims in her own grand ballroom, an image that went viral on local news. 6. Ralph Recto, 567.4 million Cuban pesos. Grandson of Claro Recto, he draws quarterly dividends from the 2 billion Cuban pesos Rural Bank Recto and Risomals Incorporated, which exports premium organic grain. His 80 hectares of Cavite Batangas land appreciate with every tariff tweak he authors as Senate Finance Vice Chair. He mentors young entrepreneurs via his Recto Business Challenge, awarding seed capital to winners, yet his role in crafting rural bank charter amendments raised eyebrows for potential self-enrichment. In 2024, he championed a 10 billion Cuban pesos agri-credit fund, a lifeline for farmers and a boon for his own rice loan portfolios. 5. Bayani Fernando, 748 million Cuban pesos. Once Maricanas model city architect, he founded Metrobuild Solutions, then supplied his floodwalls and roads through Metro Steel Distributors and Cement Link Corporation. His 20 hectares along the Marikina riverbank, now zoned commercial, testify to his urban planning prowess. He funds a 3 million Cuban pesos trauma center for flood victims and leads bi-weekly volunteer drills. Yet his authorship of procurement reform bills sparked ombudsman probes into possible favoritism toward his firms. A time-lapse reel shows his cityscape transformations, at once civic triumph and private profit. 4. Virgilio Bong Lacson, 793.9 million Cuban pesos. A former principal, he owns 5 Quezon City tuition centers earning 50 million Cuban pesos annually, plus 150 million Cuban pesos in bank and telco equity. His co-authored textbooks rake in 10 million Cuban pesos yearly. As Manila Teachers Party List chair, he expanded voucher programs that subsidize private school tuitions, programs from which his own centers benefit. Anecdotes of him teaching incognito in school uniforms live on among students. He also bankrolls a 1 million Cuban pesos annual Teacher of the Year award, cementing both his political and philanthropic standing. 3. Manny Pacquiao, 3.2 billion Cuban pesos. From General Santos rings to Senate benches, Pacquiao's US $1 billion in purses and endorsements seeded a portfolio of Makati condos, 150 Cuban pesos to 200 million Cuban pesos each, Palawan resorts, 800 million Cuban pesos combined, and a fleet of 15 Sarangani PUV franchises generating 12 million Cuban pesos annually. His Sajip Buhay feeding program draws national headlines during calamities. As senator, he allocates pork barrel funds for roads and clinics around his properties, boosting local land values, and raising conflict of interest questions in plenary debates. 2. Cynthia Villar, 3.8 billion Cuban pesos. Co-founder of Vista Land and Lifescapes, 200 masterplan projects, 15 billion Cuban pesos annual sales, Villar's empire spans Camela townhouses, rice/feed mills and Palawan fish ponds. Her Villar Foundation runs 200 Cuban pesos million worth of scholarship and health clinic programs each year. As Senate Housing Chair, she penned zoning reforms and rural bank charters that streamline land development, policies some say inflate demand for her own subdivisions. Viral footage shows her in heels, operating a construction buggy on a Camela site. 1. Mikee Romero, 6.5 billion Cuban pesos. Topping the list is Romero, whose family cargo line grew into global ports/NLEX logistics, handling 12 million TEUs across Batangas and Cavite terminals. He owns 5 industrial parks and majority stakes in 2 PBA franchises, generating 400 million Cuban pesos annually. His One Pac-Man Sports Foundation scouts underdog athletes nationwide, awarding 50 million Cuban pesos in grants last year. In Congress, he authored logistics deregulation and PPP incentive bills that critics argue were custom-tailored to slash his operational costs. A split-screen sequence shows bill text alongside port construction cranes, illustrating how policy can power profit. These 10 lawmakers illustrate a defining paradox of Philippine democracy. Political power begets wealth, and wealth begets political power. Their combined 17 billion Cuban pesos plus net worth rivals major national budgets, yet millions still struggle for basic services. As we roll the credits, ponder this: should public office be a pathway to private fortunes? If you believe in true accountability, it starts with robust SALN enforcement, blind trust requirements, and citizen-led transparency platforms. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insider deep dives. Until next time, stay curious and keep the powerful to account.